Welcome back to a bit gamey, and back to Wargaming Napoleonics. As I said before, I was a Airfix kid and had Ancients, Napoleonics and World War II figures when I was wargaming at that age. And so the three periods that immediately jumped to me when I was planning to get back into it were those three periods: Ancients, Napoleonics and World War II. And like with the Ancients, I was thinking, okay, what was it I liked? You know, what was I particularly liked about Napoleonics, so that that would guide me in what I bought, rather than just scattergun buy whatever I took, what caught my eye. And so I was thinking, what are the three things, or however many things, the three things that there were one, the uniforms. You know, how colourful it was. You know, all these big armies, all these massively different uniforms, and it's a real multicoloured spectacle. So that was the first thing. The second thing was more wargaming, in that it's not the first time you had proper units, but it's the first time that kind of registered with me that there were proper units. By which I mean, in earlier periods, you know, the command and control, you got, you know, a general, or maybe the army split into three divisions or three battles. You know, left, centre, and flank, left, centre, and right. And so, because, you know, the armies then, they didn't really have units in the sense that we think of them now. You know, they had a mob from one particular district and another mob from another district, and they were all collected together under some kind of sub-general. And you couldn't really send, well, you couldn't generally send them, send them individual orders. You just line them up in a big mob, and they can go forwards and backwards and stuff. But you couldn't really do much more than that. And it's around, you know, it's in later times when you start having actual organised sort of regiments and battalions that you could give orders to. You know, you have a guy on a hill, writes out an order, gives it to some guy on a horse. Guy on a horse carries it to the brigade commander or division commander, and then the division commander would send orders to the brigade commanders, and there's like a whole chain of command. And at the bottom of it, you've got your actual units, you know, battalions and cavalry squadrons and batteries and such. So I think it is, you know, that lends itself properly to what I consider kind of like, you know, standard wargaming, where you have a dozen or so units and you move them around. So there was that. And then there was a third thing, which is the historical nature. Oh, I suppose it's wargaming as well, in that there's the rock paper scissors aspect of Napoleonics, where you've got, you know, the infantry, cavalry, and artillery, and beyond that you've got the thing with the infantry, with the different formations, you know, column, line, and square, and how there's this rock paper scissors sort of element to it all, where you're moving things around but also changing the formations and all that kind of thing. So that led to the fairly obvious kind of conclusion about, you know, the scale and rules and stuff. There's got, you know, you want to be 28mm, so you can actually paint these uniforms, you know, all the details of these uniforms. Because anything smaller than that, I just can't even see it. So that was that, and also it had to be battalion scale, because otherwise you don't get the, you know, the elements of, you know, line, column, square. If it's all just, you know, brigade units or whatever. So 28mm battalion scale, lots of colour. That was the end. You know, quite a quick. It didn't take long to get to that conclusion. But so that's where I got to, and that's what I started to think about until it all went wrong. So I had my plan, which is colourful battalion scale 28mm, and it had to and the basing had to fit line, column, attack column, and square. And so I sort of based them out on 36, because for me, let's see if I can make this work. 4 figures. I don't need to say it's just see if I can get it to look right visually. So it's that. Faffing around. Well, there's that works. So that 4 figure wide, it just didn't look that's just my attempt to making something look like 4 figures wide. It just didn't look menacing enough for me, which is why I did them 36. I mean, it's all got more complicated since, but so that was the idea, that I wanted to fit all these different had a bunch of different conditions. Say a line column over here, one set that looks okay. For me, the attack column needed to be a bit wider, which is why it was made them 36. So that was okay. And then there's a third condition, which was a lot of the armies at the time fought in 3 ranks, which is why I did them in bases of 3 rather than 6, so you could get the frontage right for when they're fighting in 3 ranks. If you can see that, don't know. Hopefully. So yeah, so that's all great. That was all wonderful. The other thing on the colour, they normally fought in what they call campaign dress, which is there's a lot of great coats and trousers and stuff, and then they have parade dress. And the difference is silly little things like the size of the plume is less in the campaign dress. Because I wanted it all to be colourful, so they're all going to be fighting in parade dress, even though it's not very realistic. But yeah, so that's all fine. So the liners look good, 3 ranks look good, attack column look good, but the big problem doing it this size, or doing the units of that, is line. Because when you put them in line, 36 figures, it starts to get a little bit too long. And of course, obviously it's going to depend on the size of your table, but this table is, well, it's 3 foot by 3 foot now, and it can extend out to 5 by 3. But that, 36 figures in 2 lines, that's more than a foot. It's there's 60mm bases times 6, so 360. So I don't know what that is, 15 inches, something like that. So yeah, so it's going to be awkward really, because like say 3 British battalions in line, that would be wider than the table. I don't have to. I mean, the table will expand out to 5 by 3, but so it's still doable. But I was trying to think of a way of making it work on a small table. Because I was reading was it 1 hour Wargames, and the guy on that he's set up to work on a table that's 3 by 3, and I was aiming at something, to at least take that into account, rather than have a big army that could never fit on the table. So that's my problem with that. So that came to a bit of a halt, because I bought enough figures of 3 battalions, a mixture of Warlord plastics, because they had the parade dress, and a bunch of extras from front rank. Because and a bunch of extras from front rank. There's an issue with the Warlord ones, in that they're the plastic. There's not enough. So I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, the flank companies have magic shoulder pads, and there's not enough in the Warlord box. Not enough figures with the magic shoulder pads, and it shouldn't matter. But one of the things you notice when you get into Napoleonic is all these little uniform details. Like, they start becoming a real problem. They start bugging you. It's like, I don't think I did it on this, but yeah, the like each of the companies has a different colour pom-pom on the top. I don't think I did it on these ones, because I found out about it afterwards. And same thing with the shoulder pads. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know all this stuff, or if I did, I'd forgotten it. But then once you find out that they're supposed to have magic shoulder pads, it kind of bugs you, and you think, oh no, it's got to make it accurate. But anyway, so this came to a crunch really, because I couldn't decide how to base them, which is a kind of problem. Problem with me. I'm getting OCD about the basing. And the same thing happened with the ancients. It's terribly painted. It's really bad. The big nightmare of these as well was if if you ever watched any of the YouTube videos on how to paint, they nearly all mention that, you know, certain colours you need to kind of layer it. It's like white in particular, for example. If you do white on just plain white, and then you can take, it just takes forever. If you just try and do it by one layer after, you know, keep repainting them until it looks properly white, then it just goes on for hours, because it just doesn't take until you put another layer on, and then another layer on, and another layer on, and eventually you end up with a situation where it's like 2mm of white paint on it. And plus, you know, you keep doing it over and over again, so you get some of the white on the blue, and then you have to repaint it, repaint the blue. It just goes on and on. So the initial painting of these was just a total nightmare. It just took ages and ages, because mainly because I, you know, didn't remember all the lessons about how to paint on white. You know, you've got to do a base colour first, and it was a total nightmare. It took me forever, and in the end, it was kind of came to a halt anyway, because of the being unsure about the basing. This was the best one I did. It must have been right at the end. These are the front rank. These are some of the front rank figures. Yeah, so I finally kind of got the hang of doing white. It's still not great. I mean, compared to some of the people online, they're still not very good, but they're good for me. Yeah, they all look good to me from a distance, but these ones I actually don't mind looking close up. But anyway, yeah, that's exciting paint. I hadn't painted anything for like 30 years, so it's not the end of the world. You gradually give up. Anyway, so anyway, the whole thing came out stuck because I'm OCD about the basing and wanting to get everything right. Did I mention the third thing? Can't even remember if I mentioned it. Yeah, a lot of these, a lot of factions at the time. The reason why I did it on 3 rather than 3 figures per base is because a lot of the factions at the time would fight in 3 ranks, so I wanted to cover that as well. So yeah, so it all looks good. Line looks good, not line, sorry, column looks good, attack column looks good, and these 3 ranks look good, but the line is a bit long, so I don't know what to do about that. So I kind of gave up on Napoleonics a bit until I can figure it out. And the other thing I did because of this was I thought, okay, if that's not going to work, if 36, you know, if 36 battalion figures, battalions of 36 figures aren't going to work, then maybe do something else. Or, you know, you'd it works visually, but maybe not in terms of actually playing the game on a small table. Is I've got a bunch of extra command bases from front rank. These figures are really good, by the way, if I didn't mention it already. So then you can have, you know, you take each battalion of 36, and you could maybe figure out how to do some games of size like that on a small table, or, you know, you might occasionally at some point in the future you might get a big table. But one way of dealing with it is to, you know, split each 36 figure battalion into 3 12-figure battalions. Use the same rules, like if you're using black powder, you just redefine 12 figures as the standard size. And, you know, that could look okay, because the thing about doing this small units, if you've got enough flags, you can make up for the, visually, you can make up for the size of the units being too small. So that was an idea. Whether it's a good idea or not, I don't know. But anyway, so like the ancients, I kind of got myself stuck on my own OCD, but they still look great, so I don't mind. You know, if it doesn't work, I really don't want to rebase them, but I might have to in the end. But I'm putting it off and seeing if I can come up with a better solution. So that's as far as I got on the Napoleonics. Had my little plan. It was working okay, but then got stuck on thinking about how to do the basing and the size of the units and all that. Not particularly keen on rebasing what I've already done, but I might have to eventually. But I put that aside for a bit while I try and make my mind up. But still, they look quite nice on their own, so I don't mind. I don't feel like it's wasted or anything. But need a plan B for Napoleonics, basically. That's the gist of it. So anyway, that's it, I think. Yep, okay, toodle pip.